Yeah, so in this video, we shall going to explore different concept of data warehousing used by using Jubilee Insurance Company as a case study, where we will going to connect how these different sources of, how these different concepts of data warehousing, they're being applied into the real world scenario. So without wasting time, so let's try to understand what we're going to cover in this session. So first of all, you will going to understand the difference between the data warehouse, database and data warehouse. You're going to see how the data warehouse work, the difference between the ETL and the ELT, data loading, where we're going to explore the full and incremental data loading, and then the two common technique of determining what's the new, and also finally we're going to see how the full architecture of data warehousing. So without wasting time, let's first of all, since we are using Jubilee Insurance as a company for this case study, so first of all we need to understand how the Jubilee Insurance Company works in terms of where the data of this company is coming from, so data source, or where the data is being generated, and then after that, after this data is generated, where is it stored, and after being stored, where do we what do I say from which point do we need a data warehouse, and then from this data warehouse, through this data warehouse we can now build we can use this data warehouse to come up with all these BI tools. To use these BI tools to build reports. Also, we can integrate it with AI tool, the ML models, and so on. So first of all, let's try to understand where the data is originated in this company. So we have, so this is a insurance company. So in insurance company, so let's where data. So this is data generation. So first of all, first of the of all, data is coming from when, for example, a customer buys insurance. This customer will provide the details after buying the insurance. So this is one of our data source. So we can say policy cells, So once the customer buys the insurance, he will submit the details, or his or her details into the system. So he will submit the detail into the system, and this system, it has a storage system that will going to store this data. So for example, the policy cells data, this one can be stored into, maybe you can call that system as policy system. And then another source of data can be maybe premium payments, premium payments. So this is when premium payments is when this customer, they pay their annual or monthly subscription. So when the customer pay their subscription, all this data, they are being captured and stored into the let's say payment system. Payment system. Payment system. And then another source of data for this insurance company is claim submission. When, for example, a customer gets an accident and files a claim, so all those kind of, let's say, files or all those claims, all those details, they're being captured as our data. They're being captured and stored as our data. So we can call it claim submission. Claim submission. So this one is so this one claim submission. So this one, maybe we can call it claim system. The claim capturing and storing the claim submission, maybe call it claim system. And then another data source, we can, when a customer do registration, customer registration. So when customer do registration, so all these customers data, they can be captured and stored into the what we call CRM system, customer relational management system. Yeah. So these are some of our data. This is some of sources where we can get our data from in this company. So as you can see, all this data, they are being stored into their respective system. So this system, they contain databases. So this database of this system is what we call OLTP. So this one, they contain this system, they contain database, and this kind of system, what we call OLTP system, online transaction processing system. Yeah, so now we've seen how the data is originated. They're being originated from these kind of let's say transactions. So once these transactions are happening, they're being stored into the database called the OLTP system. Now once this data is stored in this system, we cannot directly use this data to conduct data analytics, because this system, they have been designed in a way that they allow only fast. They are designed in a way that it's for only fast transaction and operation activity. So this one they design in a way that they're designed for fast. They're designed for fast transaction. Transactions stroke operational activity. Operational activities. So this is the system that are designed for transaction as transaction stroke operational activity, as you have seen here, where the customer, they make their payment, the customer buys the insurance, the customer makes registration, the claim being submitted, and so on. So all these operational activities, they generate data, and this data is stored into these systems, and this system are what we call the OLTP system. They are designed for fast transaction and operational activities. Example of this system can be the relational database, e.g. SQL Server, Postgres, SQL, maybe Oracle, MySQL, and so on. So this system, they are designed in a way that it allows fast transaction and operational activities. So this system are not meant for data analytics or reporting, because this system, they are designed for fast transaction. So that means when we use this system for the analytics, that means we're going to run complex query as we try to answer the business question. So in that connection, the system will slow. The system performance will slow down. And once the system performance slows down, there'll be the transactions will also slow down. Also the user experience, there'll be a delay in terms of the user experience. And then also, even you who have used this system to run the Power BI, for example, the refreshment of this Power BI tool, the refreshment of the Power BI dashboard will also be slow in terms of loading or refreshing their data. So in that connection, these systems are not recommended for data analytics and reporting. So in that connection, you will going to build another large storage system. So since they are not used for analytics, therefore we'll have to go and build another storage system. So we're going to build another storage system. So let's say this is the storage system. So we're going to build another storage system. So this another storage system is what we call data warehouse. So this data warehouse, it will contain all these, it will receive all this data from these different sources. All this data from all these different sources. So let's try to understand what is the data warehouse. So data warehouse is a central location where consolidated data from multiple sources are stored. So we are going to pull all this data from these sources and then we store it into the data warehouse. So this data warehouse now is the one that is optimized for data analytics. So we can write this one, optimized. This one optimized for analytics. Optimized for analytics and reporting. Optimized for fast analytics and reporting. So from this data warehouse is where now we can pull this, the data, and then we can take this data. We can take this data now to now answer our business question. We can take this data to do the dashboard. We can take this data for machine learning, ML. We can take this data from this for maybe AI and so on. So this data here is optimized for the analytics and BI reporting. Example of this, example of the data warehouse include Snowflake, BigQuery. Example include BigQuery, Redshift. Yeah, so these are some of the example of this data warehouse. Yeah, so through this data warehouse now we can answer business questions such as, for example, for our case of Jubilee, we can answer business questions such as who is costing us money, for example, where is risk increasing, which product are profitable, how can we optimize pricing, and so forth. So all those questions we can use the data from data warehouse to answer all the business question. So I think from this point you can have a clear understanding of the difference between database and the data warehouse. So the difference here is that database, as we've seen, it powers day-to-day transaction. Example, a customer buys a policy, a claim is filled, a premium is paid, and they are optimized for speed and accuracy for all these transactions. And then data warehouse on the other side, it pulls it's this historical brain. Yeah, we store all this data from all this system, and then we store them in the data warehouse. So it's a historical brain. It pulls in the data from all those operational systems, organizes it, and makes it available for analysis, for the analysis. So I think this one is very clear. So here there's a good definition of data warehouse. Where a data warehouse, this is a central location where consolidated data from multiple sources they're stored. So the end user accesses it whenever he needs some information and so on. So basically, it's just a central location where we pull all these operational data into this data warehouse. So after that, now you're going to understand the difference between the ELT and ETL. So now we know that the data, first the operational data is stored into this system, and then later on is taken to the data warehouse. So now the process of taking the data from this system to this data warehouse is what we call the ETL. The process of taking the data from this OLTP system to the data warehouse. So this process is called ETL. ETL. Also, we can use what we call ELT. So this is basically extract. We are extracting the data from this, and then we are transforming, and then we are loading it into the data warehouse. And then ELT is where we extract direct. We extract from this system, and then we load them direct. And then within this system is where we do the transformation. So ETL is where we extract and then we transform before we load the data into the system, while ELT is when we extract and then we load the data direct, and then we do the transformation within the system. So let's find it out. So for example, here you can see the data is being taken from the system, that is the policy system, the claim system, the CRM system, and then we can use Python. For example, we take the data from their respective system, and then you take it to Python. You do the transformation. There, maybe using pandas to do all this kind of transformation, cleaning, standardizing, you remove the duplicates, and so on. And then after you have the clean data now is taken to the data warehouse. So you extract and then you clean using Python, and then you take it to the data warehouse. So let's use here. So here let's put Python. Then here we put the data warehouse. So this is the OLTP or DB. So we extract, and then within this Python you take it to Python, and then you do transformation, and then after transforming the data you take it to data warehouse. So this will formulate what we call ETL. Well, this other one is where we have the DB, the ELT now, DB, and then we take the data direct to the data warehouse. So we are extracting, and then we are loading it into this, and then within this is where we will going to do. Within here is what we're going to do. So within here, let's just write the transformation. So we can use tools such as SQL store or DBT to clean the data within the data warehouse. So this one will form what we call ELT. Yes, so I think this one is very clear. And then yes, so I think that one is very clear. And then we have another. So here, as you can see, we have the policy system, claim system, and then we are taking all this to Python or any other transformation tool. We are doing the transformation, and then we load the data into the data warehouse. So this is the ETL. And then here we are taking the data from various systems, and then we are loading the data into the data warehouse. And then you can see the transform. We transform within the data warehouse. So this one is what we call the ELT. Yeah, so we transform before loading the data warehouse. Yeah, transform before. As you can see, transform is happening before, while here transform after loading the data into the data warehouse. Now this loading, now we know that we will going to take this data from their respective system into the data warehouse. Now within this data warehouse, so now let's assume you have taken so here let's have the DB, and here let's have the data warehouse. So now let's assume in this DB you have 10 records. 10 records. Okay, let's put data warehouse. So that means you will extract, load, and you will extract, transform, and load into this data warehouse. So that means we're going to have 10 records. Now let's assume a new data is inserted into the system. Let's say, for example, when a customer buys, or some customer buys the insurance, that means there'll be a new data entered into the system. So let's assume two data entered into the system. So here there's two methods which you need to understand. There's a first method called full loading, and there's another method called incremental loading. So we can either take these two. So you can either take these two here. So you can either take only this new data and then you put it to here. So that means there will be 2. So that means we're going to have also this side 12 records. So this method where we are only pulling the new data into our data warehouse, this method is what we call the incremental data loading. This method here, where we only extract and load the new data or the updated data into our data warehouse. And then there's this other method where this full loading now is where once a new data enters and we want it into this data warehouse and we want to load it into this data warehouse, we are taking the whole of this, the whole of data, and then we are taking it to the data warehouse. But in data warehouse, since there's already some data existing, the data existing in the data warehouse will be deleted. So it's more of like we're extracting all, and then the existing data in data warehouse, they'll be deleted, and then the new data will be taken to the data warehouse. So this one is what we call the full loading, where we are taking all data and then we are simultaneously loading it into the data warehouse, and the existing data in the data warehouse is deleted so that we allow the new batch of data into the full data into the data warehouse. So I think that one is very clear. So as you can see, where every pipeline line, this is the data, the full data. Every pipeline run drops everything and load all records from the scratch. So as I've explained, where every time the pipeline runs, delete everything in the data warehouse and reload all data from the system. Every time a pipeline runs, we delete the existing data in the data warehouse, and then we load all the data from the OLTP system. And then this other one, as you can see here, these are just a sketch where we are taking the all data from the OLTP system, and then we are deleting everything in the data warehouse, and then we insert all the rows. And then here we have the incremental load. So incremental load here, so instead of we loading everything, we only load the new or updated data since last time. So as you can see here, we have the OLTP system, and then we are only fetching the new data, and then we are inserting the new data into the data warehouse. And then we have data warehousing. So the concept of data warehousing, where so data warehousing, this basically is now the entire process. This entire process of, first of all, as we've said here, you have the data in this, in these systems. You have the data in these systems, but this system you cannot use them for analytics. So you will build a data warehouse, this data warehouse. And then when building this data warehouse, now you will come up with the process of taking the data from all these OLTP system into the data warehouse. Of course, this is a kind of pipeline, so there'll be some error. You need to fix those errors. You need to also check the security and so forth. So this process of designing the data warehouse, now loading extracting the data from the system, the database systems, transforming them and loading them into this um, data warehouse. This whole process is what we call the data warehousing. Data warehousing. Yeah, the entire process. So let's see what's this data warehousing. So data warehousing is overall the practice and discipline. It's not the tool. So it comprises of designing the data warehouse schema, including the star, the Snowflake schema, building and maintaining the ETL pipeline, ensuring the data quality and governance, scheduling refresh cycles, managing access control, performance tuning for the analytics query. So basically, it's just the creation and management of the entire process from the data warehouse designing, maintaining all these pipelines, the security, who is supposed to see which data, and all those kind of things. So the entire process is what we call the data warehousing. So this is just a simple structure of data warehousing. As you can see, this is the data source. We are doing the ETL, and then we are designing our data warehouse, where we shall going to learn more about the dimensional tables and the facts table. And then finally, we are taking this our well designed data into now the reporting side, where we shall going to build dashboards, build reports. Also, we can use it for AI and machine learning models and so on. So